guys, welcome back to my first impressions of the Ground Branch game by Blackfoot Studios. This is part 3 in a series, and today we'll be going over some of the PvE aspects, as well as, surprise surprise to me, some of the nicer aspects of incorporating night vision and night fighting into the game. A few things before we get started. One, sorry for the delays. I moved, and with everything else going on in the country right now, my workload has been disrupted. We'll say it like that. Another thing is that I previously referred to Ground Branch as being in beta. From what I can tell, I don't think they actually advertised the game as being alpha nor beta. They're just calling it pre-release. So me saying, oh, it was a beta, it's a bit misleading, and that's not something I want to do. So my apology for that, especially when the game is going through so many changes right now. Another thing for all of the people that subscribe because you saw Ground Branch and you're like, oh, tactical realism content, and then you just saw me like posting a bunch of Majora's Mask Twitch stream archives on here, and you're like, what, Nintendo? I don't like Nintendo. My bad. I just wanted to archive some stuff, and while I was moving and doing a bunch of other stuff, it's a lot easier to just edit some stuff that's already made versus making new fresh stuff for you. So all that being said, you guys stay safe out there wherever you are. Keep aware of what's going on in your surroundings, and let's get started, shall we? Здравствуйте, hope you're doing well. This is Q from the future letting you know that at the time of editing this video, Blackfoot Studios dropped a bit of an update on their future plans for Ground Branch with the 1030 update, and the Q that you're gonna see in the video coming up did not know about any of that. I don't consider myself to be the TLDR patch notes update guy on any game, so I'm not going to read over the whole thing, but I will show you the parts that are relevant to me, and I'll leave a link below if you want to read up on it yourself. So the Intel update is entitled Bad News and Good News. Pretty much they show, hey, here's some stuff that is definitely coming in the next update. Here's some stuff that is not going to make it. And here's some stuff we're not really sure about. Prone is not going to make it in 1030 update, and that's alright. If we scroll down here, you see a little bit of the equipment and models that they are working on in the future. Weapons, more equipment, rangefinders. The stuff I was really interested in was one, this belt, which looks way better than the current Molly belt in the game. This, I believe, is the Viking Tactical Brokos belt. This belt is really cool in real life because one, it has suspension capability, meaning it can be worn slick, or it can be integrated with armor, or just worn below armor without any integration. Two, it allows you to choose with these sections where you want Molly and where you want 1.5-inch belt showing, because in real life we have a lot of different accessories that interface with different things, and maybe your favorite mag pouches need Molly, but maybe your favorite holster needs that belt loop. This belt allows you to pick and choose which you're going to use, and it's nice to see it represented in a video game, even though it has a Cobra buckle, which are just ubiquitous all over video games and movies now. The other nice thing is just like the regular shooter's belt, or what they're calling a gun belt, which has some Molly weave, or not really Molly weave, it's just loops that can interface with Molly, but has a regular belt otherwise. And then what's really nice are these updated mag pouches. These are all like HSGI tacos, which I use a lot myself in real life. The reason these are nice, not just in real life, but in the game, is that they're kind of modular. Like you can run nothing but AR mags and Glock mags in them, but let's say you switch over to a SIG or a 1911, you don't have to go switch out the mag pouches on your stuff. You just shove them in there. You may have to tighten or loosen the strings a little bit, but they fit. Since Ground Branch currently has a system in which primary weapon mags all kind of look the same for all rifles and submachine guns and such, this is probably the perfect way to represent those pouches in game, saying like, yeah, you can shove anything else in here. And what would be even nicer is if you adapt some of these rifle mag pouches and pistol mag pouches for frag grenades, smoke grenades, because that's all stuff that HSGI tacos are used for in real life, because they are so flexible. Anyways, here's a link below in the description if you want to check out these updates yourself. Otherwise, everything you're going to see in the following video has no consideration for what was written or posted here. Let's start off by messing around with some night vision at first. Shorter weapons are better for CQB. There's less chance that they will collide with the environment. That's good word. Not a lot of video games do that. Well, more and more are these days, but it's not something we really see too much in the mainstream, I would say. In fact, back when like Call of Duty ruled the roost, The only game I could think of that implemented stuff like that was a game called Black back in the day. So we're in the what Blackfoot is called their test map, which they just have a bunch of assets hanging around here, so I didn't think it was meant to be super serious. A few notes about night fighting in this game. One, the fact that there are different settings where the reticle makes a lot of sense. If you notice, we can turn the one, it's dark already, so we can turn the reticle all the way down and we get less bloom from it. And two, once we throw on our night vision, if I can remember how to use it, is that if you have nods on, you can actually see in the dark. By the way, Ground Branch or Blackfoot Studios, they actually have a huge article written about why they depict night vision the way they do. I'm not gonna try to go into it, but I can tell you that I read through it and I find it very, very plausible, and I relate it to my own experiences, and I was like, cool. But one thing I will say about it is that notice that when we're looking out, everything is clear, but our weapon is kind of blurry because our weapon is close to us, because in night vision, it's kind of hard to keep your depth perception when you're not rocking like the latest and greatest stuff. So something always needs to be blurry, whatever you're not focused on, and what you're focused on is clear. This is especially true when you're rocking old stuff. It's still true when you're rocking new stuff, and you just don't have them set up properly, or there's just limitations in the period. So notice that when we take night vision off, that it's dark, but slowly our night vision, like our natural night vision, not our nods night vision, starts to come back to us, and actually becomes bright enough to where you can see in the dark again because your eyes are adjusting to the light. I cannot, off the top of my head, recall any other game that does this when it comes to switching on and off from night vision. If I had to guess, I would think maybe one of the Splinter Cells, but I think even then it's instantaneous. It's not a slow adjustment to the light, and I can't say I've played many games that implement that. I'm actually very, very impressed with it. Another thing when it comes to night vision, since it is dark out here, we can, let's see, we can obviously engage targets with our red dot sight, and we can flip over the magnifier and do the same. Actually, I have the visible laser on. Let's turn that off real quick. Attack light works pretty well. One thing, I actually mentioned this in the Discord, but just for people who aren't a part of the Discord, you know, not everybody can be in every form and stuff. If you say you want to use a light in a momentary fashion, as you would in real life if you've ever trained in low light, you would want to flash your light on, ID a target, take your light off, and then move. And this is why pressure pads or pressure switches and not click switches are very popular in weapon lights, right? However, let's say I select my light, right? I can tap T and I can get to the light just fine, giving me that little bit of momentary effect for use, right? And that's cool. However, let's say I transition to my pistol. My light is no longer like attached over here on the 3 o'clock position as it was on the rifle, and now my light is located on the radial wheel at the 12 o'clock position, meaning that if I switch to my pistol, I can no longer just tap T to take it off. Likewise, if I'm tapping T on and off on my pistol, and then I switch back to my rifle, which, notice that my pistol light actually stays on. This is something that happens in Tarkov, but in Tarkov it's not as clean. Sometimes it's like a client side thing. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point is that if I switch from my pistol back to my rifle, and notice again, we were looking at light, so our eyes have to adjust again. Again, really, really cool feature. Again, if I tap T, I'm now on my laser, because that's at the 12 o'clock position on this weapon. And so you actually have to take a moment to change. If I was to suggest a change to that system, I would allow players to have their own hotkeys for certain devices, whether it be visible laser, IR laser, visible light, or white light, or even IR lights, depending on what kind of devices are going to be included in the game. And this would allow a player, no matter where the item is on the setup, yeah, I can get to it from the radial menu, but I also have hotkeys depending on what's important to me as the player to be able to get to very quickly. I don't know how that would be implemented unless you have like class systems set up in your code where it's like, okay, these items are categorized under light, and if a player has a hotkey for nothing but light, then it's always going to go to the item mark light. What is Unreal 4 coded in? It's like Objective-C? It's not C-sharp. C-sharp is Unity. Objective-C? I can do Let me work on this, Blackfoot. I can do some work. In any case, sorry. I can do Objective-C though, for real. Let me do some ground branch. So another thing to note while we're in night vision is that you can actually turn up your red dot to the point that it gets in your way. It seems to bloom there in that window, right? Which can be a little bit distracting depending on how you're running things. This is why IR lasers are very important, because you don't actually have to aim down your sights with IR lasers. And the fact that we can take that reticle, let me turn the laser off, we can take that reticle all the way down to make it visible in night vision, but not so much that it's ruining our aim, is good. And in real life, that principle is doubled, because I doubt this would ever represented in a game. Most red dots and holographic optics and whatever else you can think of that are marketed towards military and law enforcement will have night vision settings on the optics, and the night vision settings are not visible, or they may be visible, but they're very faint to the naked eye, whereas they show up properly in IR. I remember going to a lot of ranges when I was in the military, and people would be using night vision for the first time, and they would be like, oh, I don't need to use the night vision settings on the red dot, because just as in the game, I can see the red dot just fine through my night vision. And while that might be true, the point is that in real life, if you have your reticle turned all the way up like that with your night vision, you have a device that you're wearing on your head that is meant to take in very dim light and infrared light, and now you're feeding it like this direct visible light. You're gonna burn an image into your nod tubes, and night vision is pretty expensive. So, you know, if you come into a career where you're using night vision and red dots, make sure you put those on the night vision settings. Those exist for a reason. You don't want to burn out your very expensive nods, you know, just because you're like, oh, I know what I'm talking about, right? So back to IR lasers, which is nice in this game because currently in Tarkov, they do not have the IR laser implemented completely. IR lasers act as visible lasers, so it's like I was kind of jonesing for, hey, being able to move around at night and being able to do things with an IR laser, and I wasn't able to do that in Tarkov. So it's nice to be able to do it here. So reasons you would want an IR laser in real life that I can compare to the game as well. They are invisible to the naked eye. If people aren't running good nods, they won't be able to see that you have a laser on, right? Now you might be thinking, hey, we just had that whole conversation about red dots. Why do you need a laser to aim if you have red dots? Well, when you start employing night vision, you have these big tubes in front of your face, and sometimes getting a sight picture down on your rifle that has a bunch of stuff on it might not be easy to do. Obviously in a video game we can just kind of like put in front of us and there's no big deal. We're just holding, you know, right click or the left trigger or whatever it is in order to put that sight in front of us, but those tubes might collide. The other thing is that while in a video game, again, it's really hard to replicate what are human eyes in a video game and where is that viewpoint, even with this whole like true first person aspect, right? In a video game, it's hard to replicate those sight lines. So imagine, if you would, you have a sight line coming out of your eyes. You can move your eyeballs without moving your head, and you can change where your eyes are pointing along with your vision, right? So, you know what, let me demonstrate this a little bit differently. Do a little bit of a demonstration. Do me a favor, verify there's nothing in that chamber for me. Cool? Alright, we're good. So, even if you can fit your weapon with a bunch of junk on it, even though you have these tubes, the line from your eyes might be aligned with the tubes when you're standing up straight and you're not on your weapon. Sometimes when we come down on our weapons and we have our cheeks on our stocks and, you know, we're looking real sexy for the cover of SWAT magazine or whatever, your tubes from your nods are now pointing slightly down because we are angling our eyes upward from our head to align with the sights while our face is a little bit down. So you now have three lines that are in play. You have the sight line of the weapon that you're using, you have the line of your eyes, which is the most modular of them all, and you have this fixed nod tube line, which is It's not likely that you're going to be able to line up all three. At least not with any speed or ease. So what comes with IR lasers is a solution to that problem, which is, hey, I've got this thing that is hopefully zeroed to my weapon, and I can see it through my night vision, and I don't have to raise my rifle up and get all clunky and bang my head and have to angle my eyes just right in order to see where I'm aiming. And while there are definitely a bunch of other uses for IR lasers, when it comes to the aspect of just, shooting, guy on the ground shooting, this is where the IR laser really comes into play. And there are other considerations that I'm not discussing at the moment, but that's one of the things I really wanted to explain, is why IR lasers can be very important, and why you're seeing more along the lines of civilian sales of IR lasers these days, because more people are getting into night vision. Depending on the game that you're playing, as different advantages and disadvantages of gear setup, weight, translates into time to ADS, meaning time to aim the weapon, there will definitely be advantages of running a laser that allows you to just fire from the hip. This game and Tarkov both share a feature, or not really a feature, they both share the characteristic that if the laser is zeroed to the weapon, it actually shows where the bullet will go, or at least some sort of relation to where it should go. Instead of just being a device that you attach to your weapon, it makes a pretty laser look on the game, and it adds like a plus 25% hip fire. Increasing hip fire by increasing player character metrics is one thing, but increasing hip fire accuracy by actually allowing the player to see where they're aiming is an entirely different thing. And it's pretty cool that we get that available to us. And I think it's nice that any game would kind of focus on that, and I'm glad that's coming up more and more. Another note, and again, this is like, hey, maybe it's just not finished, it's not implemented yet. Night sights. This night sight is certainly visible on this Glock while we're out here in the dark, but it is not easy to see, it's not really glowing. If I throw on my night vision, it's not really blooming out at me. It doesn't seem like that effect is there. And maybe, again, it's my graphics settings. I'm not running the best computer in the world. But it doesn't seem like the actual not red dot, but tritium dot, or whatever it is that we're using to replace tritium so we're not irradiating ourselves anymore, is there. But it does seem more like it's just a textured in color. And again, that's not a terrible thing, but it is worthy of note. And also, since I just did a reload with retention, but I actually dropped that magazine, here's one of the things I want to discuss, because I'm going to pick up that magazine, and you're going to notice that I dropped it again. Something I noticed while I was playing more of the game while not recording, is that if your character does not have a dump pouch, they will not be allowed by the game to stuff that magazine back into a pouch, like an actual magazine pouch. And I don't know if that is intended for the final product, or if that's just a temporary thing in the current build state. I really don't. Especially when a dump pouch isn't something that you can actually attach to your belt yet, or any other gear you're running. But should you decide, hey, I want to run chest rig, right? Or plate carrier? This is actually a plate carrier. It's just named chest rig in my customization models. You'll notice that my character automatically gets a dump pouch added to their belt, and therefore they're able to retain things. And while I do appreciate the efficacy of saying, hey, your player has a dump pouch, they can retain magazines and pull it from there, what I don't understand is not being able to insert those mags into pouches that are now empty, since you just grab fresh mags from them. Again, maybe that's just something that has to do with the way the build is now, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out more as the game continues to be updated and worked upon. There's a lot of things that I look about in this build, and I'm like, yeah, I can get behind that. But there's also a lot of things where I'm like, I would do this differently and work on it, but you know what? That's why it's important for people who have already paid for this pre-release to kind of say, hey, this is what I would like, this is what I've noticed. So if you're playing the game and you're like, hey, there's some stuff I would like to see improved, or I've run into a glitch, or whatever it is, make sure you're getting on the Reddit, the Steam community, the Discord, whatever, and point it out. The devs have been pretty responsive, and the community manager has been pretty responsive to everything I've posted. In fact, like, I posted these videos, I didn't even interact with the Discord, and when I finally joined the Discord, I noticed that someone else had posted my videos to Discord, and I was like, oh, that's pretty sweet of them. Also, apparently I didn't change gear at all. What was me who forgot to hit the apply button? Imagine a dude is going out into the loadout, and it's like... Imagine your dude is going out into the loadout, and he's putting on gear, but you don't hit the apply button, so he's like, man, and he has to like take it off. So all in all, pretty much what I wanted to say is that between natural night vision, changing as your eyes adjust to the darkness, or your character's eyes adjust to the darkness, compared with the implementation of the actual night vision, I'm loving it so far. As long as someone has... Oh, hello. Excuse me. Report bug. I see it as an absolute win. Gun keeps firing. No run out of ammo. Hungry gun, never starve. Gun always full. Always send bullet down range. That's not a glitch, that's a feature, but that's a cheat code. Anyways, night vision, night fighting in general, use of lights and lasers, good to go. Suggestions for additions, hotkeys for direct access to particular accessories that are attached to the rifle. So let's get into some PvE stuff now. I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't particularly like where the PvE is at the moment. I think that the PvE options are very ambitious, but I don't think at this moment they're fully implemented yet. And that's not a dig at the devs, it's just saying like, I don't think it's all there, because there's no way that what I'm reading on paper is matching up to what's happening in the gameplay all the time in a consistent fashion. And if you're wondering what I mean by on paper, don't worry, I'm gonna show you. If we go into like a terrorist hunt mode, there are a lot of options for how you alter your terrorists. You can pick the number of them, and right now we're going to slide that all the way down to, let's say 3. We'll make it very easy on yourselves, and I'll show you why. As for an actual map we'll go to, let's go to one that I've actually worked on quite a bit, like the town, and we'll go in daytime. You'll notice that the AI skill levels all have different presets, and those presets align to the options underneath them. And you have you can select between untrained, and you can select between untrained, trained, experienced, ludicrous, and custom. And what custom allows you to do is really push those variables out of whack so that you can go up against some dumb bots. Or in theory, you should be able to go up against some dumb bots. But I'll show you what you're working with. So, for example, let's say we pick untrained and we look at something like, okay, the recoil compensation skill. It's actually 0, meaning they don't do any compensation at all. And then they have an recoil aim error update interval, meaning every half a second the AI is going to react in such a way that they're pulling their point of aim down. You can even change what that point of aim is. On untrained, they are aiming at what is labeled as B spine 1, which might just be the center mass location on the character models. I wouldn't know. Or you can change the reaction time. You can change a lot about how they see. You can change the amount of time that they spend being suppressed, should they feel to be suppressed. You can change the rate at which they turn their bodies and react to their environment. There's a lot of variables going on, and if they all work correctly, I think it's one of the more robust systems that is not only used in gameplay, but used for actual like training of players to play the game, and training of people to understand how to do this in real life. It's pretty dope. I'm gonna take you through the town the way I normally do it, and we'll also show off a few other features. There's actually a lot going on in the town in terms of long range mixed in with CQB. It's very well rounded, or at least I think so far. It definitely doesn't fill the gap of not having AI available in something like the shoot house. I think that would be a nice point of view. But every time you play in the offline mode for the terrorist hunt stuff, you start out in like a team room, you have a loadout room, you have your own little personal shooting range that the team has, which, hey, if we're the pipe hitters for the clandestine services, then I imagine, yeah, they do have everything they want for their facilities. But I can only imagine, right? So we have our own little stuff. We can check our weapon. We can make sure we're on whatever mode we want to be on. In our case, we'll stick to auto. And you know what? Just for kicks, go ahead and turn that visible laser on. Why not? So even though you had the options to change stuff back in the start menu, you still have the options to change a few things from these little maps here. And this reminds me quite a bit of Arma, even though I didn't play a lot of Arma. But I do like this whole setup, just like the shoot house setup, where it's like, hey, you can actually change the variables of what you're going to come across in these missions, down to also choosing the points. And this is what I was talking about when I said that the town in the center has 3 different points of deployment that can all be used to different advantages, which is pretty nice. It's going to be very, very cool when you start seeing people coordinate and do more team play and like combine ops and such, having different teams split up in different areas. So we're going to start up here on this mountain. We're rolling with a kind of an all-purpose rifle that can do a little bit of everything, and we don't really need the laser, so I'm going to turn that off. But we'll keep our magnifier to be the thing that I can kind of quick select. Again, only having one thing I can choose to be my quick select. I kind of have to take concessions about that. Turn up this volume just a little bit. I'll try not to talk while shooting is going on. So, if we take our time, we can actually scout out the town. One of your default items are the binoculars. I haven't used them. I don't really care for binoculars in almost any game. Maybe I should try them. Maybe Ground Branch, you know, figured out what it was about binoculars I don't like, and they fixed it. Alright, so if we take our time and look around the town, we might catch some dudes out patrolling. So far, I'm not seeing anything. One thing I really love, though, about this game is, I mentioned it in one of the other videos, how the perspective is very, very narrow when you're looking through magnified optics. Especially if those magnified optics are mounted a little bit more forward on the rifle, so we have a couple dudes patrolling there. Reason being is that in real life, is how it feels. Like, just because you have a high power magnified optic, it doesn't mean that you don't feel closed in and claustrophobic. That's one down, and I know one is over there wounded, but he's definitely not dead. And that's out of 4 dudes, so we need to watch ourselves as we come in closer here. Go ahead and take that magnifier down. Oh! All these dudes speak English at the moment. Woo! Okay, so that guy got a shot off, but he hit the building and not me, which is nice. It's always nice when you're not the one getting hit. Keep our muzzle forward, and let's see if we can grab one of their weapons. So, from what I can tell, they actually have the ability to where you can grab just the magazine for their weapons, or you can grab their weapon in total and use that. It's caused a few glitches, one of which I've posted on Reddit, but otherwise it's a pretty cool system. One thing I've noticed is that we can't actually grab their gear yet. Maybe it's coming, I don't know. But they do wear pretty nice gear. Shout out to whoever is doing the modeling. There's something else I'll point out about that later on if we get the opportunity. So that's 2 guys down. 1 guy I know is wounded out there a little bit. Something that I noticed in a previous video that I recorded but I didn't get to upload is that while someone was walking up through here, I was actually able to shoot through the wooden ceiling / floor, and when I came up there was a dead body. So it definitely worked. And you can actually see where I fired. There is an exit hole through that wood. So soft cover is definitely a thing in Ground Branch, and it is a thing of beauty. So while we're here, if I can do this safely without somebody killing me. Oh, yeah, like that. Okay, now I saw that guy. It took a little flash. Oh, and that's it for the mission. I guess that other guy did die. Maybe I'll have to... Yeah. So with this being over, you know what? That's weird. And I had to turn down the terrace to 3 number of enemies, but this is the first time I've actually completed one of these PvE missions. So we're gonna try this again, but we're only gonna put 1 on because there are a few things I want to demonstrate. One being that the breach charges we have in this game are water charges. Water charges in real life, when they're put and combined with explosive breaching charges, are used to tamp explosions, meaning that the concussive blast is redirected towards the path of least resistance, and you can put the water towards people, and that explosion won't be as apt to harm them, meaning you can do stuff as I'm going to show in my other breaching video. The other thing is that you can be on the inside of a breach door, and it looks pretty cool. It has a pretty decent animation for where the game is at this state. I think so. So let's make sure this is good first. Alright, let's pull out a breaching charge. One thing I don't like about the breaching charge right now is that alright, so we got it set there on the door. It's like sticky taped on. One thing I don't exactly love about it right now is you have to select the detonator separately after you select the breach charge. There may be an option to mess with that, just like there's an option that says, hey, after I throw a grenade, I want to get back to my primary weapon. But I didn't see it immediately, and I looked a few times and I still haven't seen it. The other thing is, once you switch off the detonator, you don't seem to go straight back to your weapon either. That seems to be something you have to manually do, but I'm going to leave it alone and see what happens once I set off this detonator, and you get a good look at this water charge. So, kind of cool animation, door split in pieces. I imagine if someone was standing closer, they would actually get hurt by that. And again, I'm still on my detonator. I would like a, after detonate, go back to weapon button. Or not button, but toggle, like on my options. But I can understand why that might not be available. Reason being is because you do want to be able to play this game with teams, right? And with other people. And if you're enabling one player to be able to do it all, set off the charge, throw a flash, come in with your rifle, all of that at the same time, you're not really encouraging people to communicate and do team-based actions. I mean, you know, in a game like this, if that's what they want to focus on, I'm all for it. Now, let's see if we can actually find our one little lone enemy who is somewhere out here. Where, we don't know, but we can take our time. I'm sure we'll find him. We'll just go build in the building. Notice that as a training town, as if this was a... Oh! There you are! Goodness gracious. Now, again, we have the AI turned to, like, untrained for this. Let's go ahead and up the amount of them that appear on this map and give ourselves a little bit more of a challenge. We won't worry about the breaches or anything like that. So we start with 3, we went down with 1 just so I could demonstrate the breaches. Let's turn up the heat a little bit and go to 10 guys, just to see how it plays out, and we'll approach from a different angle this time. Also, I really like the typewriter effect of having text like that. I think that's been a favorite of mine ever since Sonic Adventure boss fights. And if you know what I'm talking about, run before they tan your hide for being a true nerd. The thing is, once you up the amount of enemies in the place, you have like dudes patrolling in twos. There were like 2 separate patrols. Every dude's like up on, yeah, like that. Oh, hello. I thought I switched back to semi-automatic. I did not. and see if he is maintaining a suppressed status because we're firing at him so much. I don't really know that he is. I would love a behind the scenes look at how the suppression works in this game, but he's definitely down now. We'll take a reload. I don't know how many shots we fired. You don't know how many shots we fired. Nobody knows. So we'll just reload just to be safe. Why not? I got plenty of mags. I'm not paying for the ammunition. You're not paying for the ammunition. That's a joke, by the way. We're all taxpayers here. We're all paying for this ammunition. A little bit of slowdown here. I don't blame that on the game. I blame that on my computer. Not being the most ideal computer to run some Unreal Engine games on. If we can catch anybody else outside. From the initial shooting, I imagine the patrol guys have already bunkered down or something, but that's 1 out of 9, and we do have this dude way out here. If our 0 is set at about 100, yeah, that did him. Also, it looks like his rifle spit some rounds into the dirt or something. There's a few wisps of dust coming up there. So yeah, the PvE effect can be pretty fun. Again, we're playing on untrained difficulty. But you notice that some dudes spot us from far away, and some don't. And it just seems kinda... It seems a little inconsistent to me. But I feel like that will become apparent once we get to our next map as well. Go ahead and take cover right here, reload. Switch back to auto, take that magnifier off. Oh, got a dude in the window of the other building. Got a few of them in the other building, actually. One of them coming out. We'll burst a full auto to take him down. That guy hanging out in his window like he's a G, dude. You know better than that. I don't really feel comfortable crossing the street until I know that this building is clear. Let's go ahead and check it out. We can actually see the shadow of the body of the dude we shot up there. So we know to check him as we go through. We cannot open these window shutters. For some reason, I remember being able to do so. Maybe I just dreamt it. Having ground branch dreams now, or something. Imagining things completely. Alright, didn't see me out there. Go ahead and close that door up. Work our way back down, then across the road crossing to get to the next building, shall we? It did make me wonder if they were gonna have like spray paint or stuff in this game. They said they were working on chem lights, like leaving stuff down so you can tell people like, hey, we've been here before or something like that. Some way of saying like, hey, we cleared that building. Don't really have to worry about that building at the moment, kind of deal. So we do have a few flashbangs. How about we try to use them? If you hold this long enough... Okay, maybe I was completely wrong. I have no idea how to get that grenade arc to show up. Sometimes it shows up and sometimes it does not. And I have no idea what determines whether it shows up or not. Yeah, these dudes are ready for me. Again, nice little shot there with that. Having to go down on our sights because we have a little bit of a center understanding of where our gun is when it's at the ready. Nobody hanging around here. Dead check these bodies. Remember, thoracic cavity shots. I mean, headshots are cool and all, but when you really want to make sure someone's dead, thoracic cavity shot that you can do while on the move without having to disrupt your aim and your focus too much is a good way to make sure that you're hitting the vital organs, hitting the CNS, back of the spine, and all that. And just pretty much ensuring that someone's going to bleed out when they're gone. So, while we're here, and there doesn't seem to be anyone trying to kill us at the moment, I did want to give a shout out to whoever it is that is designing these character models. There's a lot of detail going on here. If you notice, these guys have like some really fat mags. They've got Desert Eagles as pistols, I don't know why. But Desert Eagles with rose, like Cocobolo rose grips. Someone has some like ridiculous amount of style going on. You know what? That's not a Desert Eagle, that is a USP. Full size. Sorry, the safety deceived me as well as the large hammer and large load, but USP is also a very large pistol. Are these USPs or are they Mark 23? You know what is this? Someone from Blackfoot Studios, whoever models this stuff, you comment on this video. Tell me what the hell this is. I'm not playing with you. I want to know. In any case, that's not what I was focusing on. Shout out to you though, character modeling guy, because if you notice, these guys have on like some very, very simple fighting rigs. And if you look very closely, you'll notice that the 2 magazines towards the left are unlatched, like no Velcro strap on them. And then the 2 towards the right are strapped in. And that's very, very good attention to detail, because in real life, most experienced shooters do want to keep some mags, at least one, but a couple, in this case half of his storage, that are easy to get to, have nothing in the way, and then having your other mags nice and fastened and secured, so if you take a hard fall, if you run, if you get rocked by something, those mags won't be apt to fall out. So you have a balance between mags you can get to on a fast reload and magazines that are going to stay with you no matter what happens. And that's pretty cool that someone bothered to include that in the game. So shout out to you. Alright, there's a dude we bodied from the window. By the way, if any of you gamers out there has access to a Galil Ace, like, Shooter Q would like to know your location. I would very much like to try one out if you're willing to share. Let's make sure we work through the rest of this building. I'm pretty sure this just loops back in the same room. That it does. That was the guy we shot from the window, so we know we're good here. Game hasn't told me how many people are remaining a little bit, or if it has, I just wasn't paying attention. So I am kind of interested to find that out. There were 10, right? And I imagine we've killed like 5-ish so far. So we should be able to move from here and keep working the other buildings. One thing I haven't figured out is if you actually, if you actually go to pick up the magazine from a weapon, I don't know if it just takes it away so that, you know, in the light of like, oh, I just killed some guy, let me make sure he's disarmed so no one comes up and picks up his weapon and uses it against me. Or if it actually gives you the option to reload the rifle. And I'm finding out here for the first time, yeah, if you pick up a magazine of the same weapon type, you'd actually build yourself a little bit of an arsenal based off of just enemy weapons, which gives more credence to the option of coming in with a lighter loadout. Which I guess light loadouts are probably going to be more fun to run now than later, since in the future armor will be properly implemented in the game, as well as a reworked ballistic system. What am I doing, man? I should really be using the weapon I came here with. I just wanted to rock some people with Galil. Alright, look. How about we get 1, maybe 2-ish Galil targets? And once that's done, we'll go back to the weapon that we came with, which I think is a Mark 18. They're all ARs to me. So yeah, man, the PvE can be fun. I've got the difficulty set as low as the game, not the lowest that the game allows, but the lowest stock configuration that the game allows. I'll explain that, or I already explained that before. Custom, you can lower all those values that I showed earlier to like a really ridiculous degree. The question is, does it really matter? So that's good. And see like that little opening there? You toss a chem light there and you'd be like, yo, that's been cleared. Making good use of the high ready here. Well, it's low ready to get around some of these corners. It's really nice. Nice that a game actually has those features. That brings up another point about game design. Like when you come up to a corner, okay, real life shooting versus game design, I should say. When you come up to a corner like this, even though you don't really need to be close to it, like you can bound out of it and you can have better coverage, but let's say you're coming through a doorway like this one. The closer you get to the doorway, the farther back you want to bring your gun towards you. You can achieve this with this high ready, you can achieve this with this low ready position. You can achieve it by simply pulling the firearm back towards you, either under the arm or over the shoulder. But what separates different games between like simulation and just being photorealistic is, do we give the player agency of that? I, in Ground Branch, as a player, have to decide, hey, I'm coming up to an area where I don't want my muzzle poking out. I'm going to have to reposition the weapon to achieve that. Whereas, like, let's say Shooter Q gets a $80,000 a year job and is now the junior assistant game design lead for the next Call of Duty Modern Warfare or whatever, right? For a game like that, I would still implement stuff like these weapon positions, but I would do so automatically. So it'd be like, as a player is coming up to a wall and they're coming into a door breach, their muzzle would be moving back with them, but it would be automatic based off like ray casting towards the distance of the wall. The problem of that is, yeah, you do make it more cinematic. The player doesn't have to do anything, but they get to look cool. Whereas, how do you prevent that from happening when the player's looking out here, but they get really close to a door? How do you prevent that from happening when the player doesn't want to do it at all? And that's kind of the crux of game design when it comes to scripted events, contextual events, and what have you. And it's also why, like, a lot of more simulative games that chase tactical realism, they can be a little dry for some people because that stuff doesn't happen automatically. But they also give the player agency to make sure it never happens when you don't want it to happen, if you get what I'm saying. Now, the obstacle is getting in your way. That happens when you don't want it to happen all the time, because that's something that you're contending with. You making decisions about how you want to manipulate the weapon in your hands. Giving that option to the player, it's really nice. And if they don't really care about that in a game that offers it, hey, this game has a default option where your weapon is literally one way all the time, and you just learn to play while having the muzzle facing one way. And from what I've seen with people playing the PvP so far, I looked at some Durag videos as well as others. I mentioned Durag because Durag deserves some attention. I don't really care for the other people I watch playing the game. My point being is that the PvP is looking a little arcadey at the moment. I don't think that's the fault of the game itself. I just think that naturally, because of FPS gaming being what it is in the competitive sector these days, that people already have kind of ingrained habits that they're pushing towards their PvP games. So hopefully we see a little bit more like tactical based PvP, but I don't know. I don't know if a game can come out based on its PvP merits and watch people maintain the same tactics that they would when they're, you know, role-playing, hardcore role-playing in a video game. And I say that having come from, you know, the Rainbow Six Siege launch in 2016 and having a certain mentality about the game because of other... Oh, hello. He's gone. I don't know what these dudes load up in their Galils, but it must be some 75 grain top or something. There's one guy left, and I have no idea where he is, but I just made a lot of noise, so I'd like to not die to him. What was I talking about? Yeah. The premise... Oh! Actually, I hit that dude, just like blind fire. I wanted to run because I didn't want to die. The premise of Siege was ruined by the game... Not ruined. It was changed by the gameplay of Siege, because no matter what kind of game you make, if there's a meta to be found, players are going to find it, and they're going to strip your game apart. So you have to appeal to people on the competitive aspect, as well as with this PvP mission running, level customization and level making type of gameplay in order to keep people interested. Otherwise, everything turns into the next Counter-Strike. Not in terms of gameplay, but in terms of, hey, what is the specific equipment and specific spots you set up and everything else in order to have, you know, a successful PvP match. I believe it is what the kids today call getting sweaty. That's the town. Let's step into an area where I don't feel comfortable, and I'll try my best, but I'll show you guys what I'm talking about with the AI. So, back to offline, terrorist hunt. We'll make it easy. We'll roll with, like, we'll go up against 5 guys. 5 guys on the untrained skill level, and we'll go to the city during the daytime to make more use of open areas and less use of CQB and cover. And we'll roll with the same rifle setup for now as well. I think that's kind of my dual rifle. I was reading in the Discord that apparently, like, some people were going into night maps with just white lights and no night vision. I was like, yeah, I like white lights and no night vision in real life. But in a game where you don't have to pay for the night vision yourself, it seemed a little silly, and they actually did have a little bit of blue on blue just because some people didn't see in the dark. That's unfortunate, but it made me want to change my character to make sure you're like, I should pack night vision just in case I play with people. I don't want to piss anybody off. Nah. Start on the outside because oh hey, you can start at the subway tunnel. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't see that as an option last time. Maybe I just didn't know what I was doing last time. I only saw like 3 options to select before. Make sure this rifle is like we like it. Semi-auto. Go ahead and get that magnifier to be the thing that we swap, and I accidentally hit the R key and swapped the mag, but whatever. Maybe I'm loading like 31 rounds. Now, this may be a limitation of my computer. This may be a way that the game was intended to be, that you roll out here with 4 dudes with guns pointing in all directions. If we look out here, we see some bodies. These are like downed cops and stuff like that. But my experience on this map is that even with the difficulty turned to untrained, and then with the difficulty changed again, so that I have these dudes literally on the slowest, like least reactive mode they can be, I normally get sniped when I'm running from cover to cover. And by sniped, I just mean I get shot and I have no idea where it's coming from and I can't see. Now maybe that's the draw distance on my graphics settings, but I just expected the AI, when they're in their slowest, like dumbest mode that I set by my settings in the custom settings, that they wouldn't be able to just snap to me at 200 meters, you know? Like, I felt like I was playing a game on hard when I had the game in the easiest mode that it allowed, if that makes sense. And I didn't like it. But I've put 5 guys into this town and we'll go see if we can find them. Not seeing anything down this street. And again, this is kind of stuff in real life. This would be stupid to do as one man, but I just want to focus on solo. When you play PvP, or when you play with multiplayer in games, it's really hard to concentrate on like the critical aspects of them at the time. And you end up having to do a lot of like VO stuff. Oh. That guy dipped back down, and again, I can see movement, but I cannot see him very well at all. And if you notice the way he's running, like he speeds up to like a major degree. Maybe because he's being shot at. But yeah, this is the first time that I've seen a guy before he saw me and I was able to successfully engage him in this map. Normally I'm yeah, like that. I'm getting capped off like real. Now, let's suppose we understand what was going on there. This is an AI that had seen me, but then I ducked behind the car, I changed position, I changed angle, I changed my, or sorry, not position, well, position is part of it. I changed my angle, I changed my elevation, but as soon as I saw him, he had a bead on me. So the question is that AI having a raycast towards me, and it's being broken by the cover I'm getting? And then he's reestablishing target on me with his, in the untrained difficulty, and getting a shot on me that easily? Or is that raycast, or whatever it is, whatever method is being used to draw a line between the AI and the player character, is that never being broken by the car? And so when I pop out, the dude didn't lose his aim on me. He was always aimed on me, and he was able to shoot me as soon as I come out of the car. You get what I'm saying? There are parts of that I've had an experience with this, that I played this map like a dozen times without recording, and that was the experience I had. I was just getting shot by dudes in a way that I felt like, yo, these guys are on untrained mode, and this is how fast they are, and this is how accurate they are, that I'm getting domed. And you know, maybe that aspect of gameplay will change when the ballistic system is introduced, and not quite being a Call of Duty style of damage model, but being a damage model so that the player can actually get shot a little bit and react to it. I'm not sure. My point is that I don't feel like the AI is doing what those numbers say it should be doing. And I may be completely off base, maybe I don't understand just how fast, you know, 2 or 3 seconds still is, and how accurate some of these shooters can be, but my experience on this map has been that the way that I'm able to take cover behind the buildings and such in the town does not work the same way with these vehicles. The first time I did play this map though, and I kept dying like time after time, I thought all those bodies of the police that were still here were the bodies of myself because I kept dying so much. It took me a while to realize that that was not the case. But like these little sprints that I'm doing from truck to truck, the reason I'm doing that is because I've been killed just like walking between these trucks before I could see anybody, and maybe it's just to illustrate like, hey, these dudes have superior position on you and they kind of know you're coming. But again, it just feels... it feels a little cheap at times, the way you get shot and how quickly you're fired upon. Like I said, that first guy I killed in the last run we did of this city, that's the first time I've seen a guy before he saw me and was able to successfully engage him. Also, what I do like about the draw distance and the scaling is just that this game puts a lot into making these scopes worth it. Definitely. Whereas I've played a lot of games where it's like magnified optics, why would I want that? When I can aim forever with a 1 power optic and get the lowest recoil value possible. Notice that we're getting some height over bore issue while trying to aim over these cars. Even though I can clearly see over an object doesn't mean that my barrel isn't right behind an object. This is impressive, but I will say I'm seeing this more and more in other games. Especially as projectile-based shooting and ballistics starts to overtake. Woo! And see, this is what I'm talking about. Is he shooting at me because I was ducking above the car? Can he still see me when I'm actually behind the car? Like, not real life, eye-to-eye humans see me, but does the AI detect me behind the car and know that I'm still here or not? And in that case, he was looking off in the distance, so I don't think he did. But as we saw in the last iteration, that wasn't the case. So yeah, the height over board thing, I'm seeing that more and more in games. I still think it's impressive when it happens and when it goes down. Certainly. Yeah, see that, I took a hit. You saw the screen like go red and everything, but I didn't get hit enough to die. I'm gonna sprint over to this truck. And again, if this is how intense the gameplay is supposed to be, like how quick people live and die, then yeah, get your teams together and get ready to play like one of the most hardcore shooters you've ever been in, and that's pretty dope. At the same time, I feel like that AI is a lot stronger than is as defined by the numbers. And maybe I need like a debugger mode to show me like that isn't the case or something like that. Or maybe it just hasn't been tweaked to perfection yet. Who knows? We are in a not alpha, not beta, pre-release style of game, so who is to say? In any case, we have 3 guys left. No, with that last guy, that makes 2. Also, another thing I noticed is while I'm moving, like if I turn my head, I can kind of walk like that and have my head turned in a certain direction. I have not been able to do that with... I have not been able to do that while sprinting, and maybe that's intentional. It's just something I noticed though, that's not in a complaint like the other things are. I wouldn't mind being able to jump up on this little step here and aiming through this truck, but that doesn't seem to be something they want to let me do. That's fine. See a few green helmet dudes down there. I also do find it funny like how my dude is the best of the best CIA's ground branch shooter, and he's having a hard time breathing after a few sprints. Like not even long sprints, like little 5 to 8 step sprints. Kind of funny. Okay, can't really see it that way. No reason to use our little D-ball. EVX, ANP, Q, XYZ, you and me sitting in a tree. What was that saying? Anyways, we're looking for dudes. Notice how much the gun gets in the way just from looking around. You really want to be careful about how much we're ADSing and aiming. Hello. Those shots came from over here. Is that guy in the subway? Or did they come from over there? No, this guy's still... Yeah, this guy sees me. And see again, he shoot... Oh, whoa, 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 whoa! Hello. Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. He can see me from the other side. I don't know, maybe someone will run that back in slow motion and they can actually see him, but when I'm looking around, I didn't see the guy. Shots that hit the railing when I was looking into the center of the town seemed to be coming from behind me. Then they seemed to be hitting the truck when I got behind the truck. And the dude can still see me. Now, is he seeing me because he's prone in a game where no one can go prone yet? And he can see me under the truck? Or again, is the raycast or the visual recognition system, or is it a distance like modifier lock on based off how long they saw you and if they still see you there? Is he seeing me like that and he's able to shoot at me and hopefully bullets at me? Or is he shooting through the truck, the solid truck? I don't know. And I won't know unless I put like many more hours into the game. My point being is it feels a little cheap sometimes. So one thing I haven't tried doing is starting in the subway. It's something I'd actually like to do because I've seen a lot of PvP events on other people's channels starting in the subways, but I haven't been down here myself. Also, when I'm looking around for dudes, I'm not seeing anybody. I have no idea if they're there or not. Also, you know what? I just realized this little start right here where you come down the subway tunnels. This is the location of the first time I ever saw the game. In a little demo where two dudes are playing co-op with each other and like pushing through these subways with their rifles and their pistols. It's pretty dope. A lot of open areas here, and this is where I saw a lot of PvP events take place, and I can see why. There's a lot of cool stuff going on right here. Yeah, it's real secure, dude. Oh shit! For some reason, I pulled out my pistols. My pistols? My pistol. Also, I heard a dude coming this way, but there was a guy behind me. I have no idea what's going on. I know I need to feed this gun, though. Feed the beast, baby. Feed the beast. Alright, so that's two down. But the people I heard from behind me, or what is behind me now, what I thought was in front of me, I have no idea if they're there or not. I don't know if that's because my sense of sound is destroyed or if the audio is not perfectly stereo yet. Who knows? But no. I thought I heard people over here, but apparently there's no one here. Maybe it's just part of that subway echo, who knows? Maybe my headphones are not properly configured. Go ahead and stow that mag, go for a fresh one. You know what? I would not mind picking up your AK-74M. This is really expensive and nice. I don't know how you got it, and I don't know how you scuffed it up so fast. But I do. See, sometimes I'm walking, and I think I hear someone else's footsteps. Perhaps I just haven't played the game enough. But it does feel like audio... Oh! There was a dude here. It does feel like audio is a little weird. And see, notice that now we're in CQB distances. I'm getting shot at. I'm nearly getting killed. But I'm still able to fight with these guys and maneuver around cover and figure out what I need to do, right? Whereas when we're out in the open and dudes are way farther away, it's very, very hard to maintain, or at least for me, it's kind of hard to maintain that that competitiveness with them. And this is the untrained setting of the AI. I mean, you guys were there, you saw it. When we were outdoors, there was no way I was going to live through any of that stuff. Dudes were dead on. Now that we're indoors, they behave a little bit differently. I don't know what affects that, and I don't know if it's a problem or if it's just how the game is going to be. I just know it felt cheap and a little bit hard to me. No bustable lights yet. That's a lot of work though. I don't blame him for that. Also, by shooting, I heard some dude yelling. So I'd like to run out of here and get to cover before I try to figure out where this guy is and get sniped. Is that him? Yep, that's him, as is indicated by the map ending. So hey, that's my first successful city run. And we'll go check out the 747 because more so than just the PvE, the 747 map actually shows off some pretty cool stuff. Let's go take down a plane full of bad guys. Like it's, sorry, like it's, almost said SWAT 2. But it's just SWAT. For some reason I was thinking of Mission Impossible 2. Which has nothing to do with SWAT. Did you guys know Jeremy Renner played the bad guy in SWAT before before people knew who Jeremy Renner was. It was dope. What was your first Jeremy Renner movie? I'm trying to think what mine was. It was definitely before Born Legacy. And I guess there was Hurt Locker, which is of course the EOD like flagship movie. Everyone in EOD loves Hurt Locker. Actually, a lot of EOD people, as well as veterans in general, Army veterans in general, hate Hurt Locker. I actually don't mind it. I have explanations of why, but now is not the time for that. I'll do a shooter like commentary of it one day, along with my Triple Frontier one. I'll add it to the list of movies to cover on commentary. I think there's a lot to do. That movie offers a lot that a lot of people can't appreciate it, and that's okay if they don't. I just feel like I could explain a lot to a lot of people, like why you might reconsider it. We'll rock with the MP7, but since I don't envision myself using night vision, what I'd like to do is rock my hat, because if you get to know me, you'll know that I love my lightweight loadouts. Yeah, everybody looks cool in like a fast helmet with a bunch of crap on it, but look, all your homies out there that do this stuff, nobody likes to wear all this stuff all the time. Everyone likes to be lightweight if they can help it. You also notice that I added my like shooter glasses to the mix, which are like my real life persimmons lenses that I love. Speaking of persimmons lenses, it's really funny, like the type of stuff that you consider like, yeah, this is our generation, and this is the newest, latest stuff from Travis, Costa, Ludus, company, or whatever. You go back and look in like a gun magazine from like 1964 or something like that, and you see like the same stuff, and I'm like, damn, there's nothing new under the sun. Sweet. So I got my tac light, my MP7 made of unobtainium that I can never have in real life, and we're good to go. If we move this to full auto, and then we sling it, which remember slung is actually hanging from our chest, which is pretty dope. I always like that. It looks a little weird because every weapon they have right now just hangs like straight up and down, like clipping through your chin and stuff. I'm sure that's something that can be changed, especially this is on Unreal Engine. Like I'm positive that can be and will be like pushed to change in the future with like pure hanging physics. I mean, it was Army 2 was one of the first games we saw like real sling physics in, and a lot of games like that don't even have an actual sling displayed. It's like an invisible string, but the weapon acts like it's being hung across a string with a physics system, which is pretty dope. Pretty sure Army 2 is the only game I can think of that does that, but I know there are more. I just don't know what they are right now. So, again, I have never completed this particular map. I think we loaded ourselves up with 5 guys to go against in the plane, which is not many. I didn't take a good look at it, so I might be completely wrong. One thing I want to do, yeah, see, I switched my weapon to auto before we left the room, and I understand that the game has the setting where it says, hey, what is the default mode you want your weapon in? And I have it on semi-automatic. However, if I pick up the weapon in semi-automatic in the team room for loadout, and then we load into a mission after I've already changed it to full auto, I should not have to change it to full auto again, because otherwise what was the point of prepping the team room? And I suppose maybe it's part of the whole thing where they're giving you full ammo and everything, but again, I feel a little conflicted about the efficacy of having a team room to get prepared when you prepare your stuff and then you come out and you have to re-prepare your stuff after you're on the clock, you know what I'm saying? So, things I like about this level, you have this little terminal waiting zone where you can just look at the plane, and maybe if you had a sniper, he could look into the cockpit or whatever. Ground branch flag up there. But I find it cool that even though the bulk of the action on this map is taking place within the plane itself, you have all of this time and space and just pure area to look around, get accustomed to things. You still have to wonder if anybody is around there. You have a place for your whole team to set up and get a look at the plane and then come back here and discuss it. And it's not like the city and it's not like the town where the whole place is the actual fighting map. And I really appreciate that because I think that's what's going to flood in some more unpredictability when it comes to PvP, as well as greater depth of mission design when it comes to PvE if they decide to pursue that route, depending on what they do with this game. This opens up a lot more options. I think it's pretty cool. You can have someone post up there and get your snipe on, though none of these windows are open, but that's okay. Glass isn't here anyways. Alright. I think I just saw a dude moving there. No, that's just my graphics being janky. Alright, so we're gonna keep... Yeah, we got our light ready. We're gonna keep our muzzle towards the stairs. We're gonna close this gap. And then we're gonna proceed slowly and with caution. You know what? Just for good measure, let's go ahead and turn that laser on. Why not? And again, I don't even know the entire layout of the plane. I've died in here a few times. So, this is pretty much... This might as well be blind for me. Can't tell if that's a dude or not. That's a dude. Well, not anymore. He was a dude. Alright, so we got an upstairs, we have the floor we're on, and I know that there's a downstairs here, but it takes a while to get into there. The game is telling me that there are 4 enemies left. Also, yeah, the dry mission that we did, where you can do a shoot house version of this map. It has some of this plane layout here, but it definitely didn't. It definitely did not prepare me for this. That flashbang did not do anything for anybody. There's another dude running around here, but I have no idea where he is. I bet he's here. Nope. No, I can hear the dude. He's over this way. Yeah. I know what you're thinking, Q. Did you just, like, do a full auto MP7 burst? MP7 burst to a bunch of, like, plane seats? And I'm like, yeah, 1, I came here with a lot of mags, I'm gonna use them. 2, this thing is supposed to be able to penetrate a good amount of armor, should be able to penetrate those seats. And as we can see, totally did. But there's a lot of dudes over there, at least 2. A lot? There are probably only 2. I still don't know how to get the grenade thing to come up, nor did that flashbang do anything that I needed it to do. I'm worried about those in the angles. There's people over here, I just don't know where they are. Like, I hear people running, they might be below me. And then you got an area like this that's just like, ooh. Okay, now I know there's gotta be people down there. That hurt. That hurt me a little bit falling down there, but I'm good. And so you see another entry point for the plane. We could start at the cargo, which honestly, if I was running a team through here, probably be the smarter way to do it because... Oh, hold up. Yeah, you stand by. Coming through the cargo and then seeing another team upstairs would probably be the better way to do it because then you take the bottom of the plane without having to worry about the bottom and the top at the same time. And then you can work your magic when it comes to clearing the unknown top floor of the plane. There's no one here. There's no one there. I threw that flashbang for no reason. I'm like fairly certain these guys are on top of me, but I keep hearing them in a direction that sounds forward of me. Yeah, I'm fairly certain they're above me. I pulled out my pistol because we were in like super tight corners here and I wanted to be able to shoot. Excuse me. I wanted to be able to shoot from a point of retention. I want my light. No. Yeah, now I gotta go back upstairs. That's gonna be fun. This isn't a bad map, and you can tell because it's not like choked off and like, oh, there's only one way up and one way down and stuff like that. which is it's a common pitfall for a lot of games to make a cool map setting, but then the map design is lacking for it, versus making a map that's natural and just letting the players deal with it, with all the different directions going up, or if there's natural choke points and not choke points because the designers wanted there to make sure there would be choke points for a PvP experience or something like that. Like, you can smell it. You can smell the way a map is designed at times. Alright, where's your buddy? This is like nerve-wracking just because there's like so many different directions and angles to worry about. I never did go all the way upstairs there. But these guys came to me, which means they didn't stay in their place where they were supposed to be either. Can't wait till we have the ability to check ammunition though. That's gonna be a game changer, literally, because it changes the game. Little baby AK. Not quite a Krinkov, but definitely 74 this year. I do not know why I picked up that magazine without picking up the gun itself. But because I have the magazine, I can actually load it, so that's nice. Excuse me. We have one more guy we're hunting for. I do not know where he could be, but upstairs is the only place we haven't gone, so maybe we should check that way. I know that as we run around, that's kind of cool. You see my stop from my MD7 bounding up as I'm like running like this with the AK in my hands. And I believe, yeah, I'm out of flashbangs. That's no bueno. Okay, we're up to the cockpit. I don't think this guy is up here, but we're still going to check it out pretty cautiously. And see, from the cockpit, we can see the area where I was looking at the cockpit getting ready, and hey, who knows, in the future there might actually be someone up here. Or there might be someone out there. If you get that anime reference from me being in this cockpit and someone being way out in front of me, let me know, but I doubt that anybody but me understands that reference. Because I'm a geek beyond geeks. Seriously, there was one more guy in there and I don't know where. Means we're gonna have to retread a lot of our area. And this is the importance of having teams that hold areas and make sure that areas that were just depopulated get repopulated because other people are moving into them. That can be also nerve-wracking. That's also why, you know... Oh. This guy's below. He's running towards me below. This is why doors get blocked and lights get thrown and everything else that makes an area seem more or less clear. I don't want to fight this guy down here, man. This is scary. I can hear him. He's above me now, isn't he? He like ran in circles around me. This is very nerve-wracking. I just like kind of climbed through that wall. Don't know how I feel about that. I'm like trying to keep my muzzle from bumping into stuff. But I'm also trying to keep it pointed for when I find this guy. Seriously, where are you, man? You didn't leave. Where did you go, my dude? Now I'm back here again. What if I fire a couple shots to lure you in? I think I'll take the bait. I'm listening so hard. Okay, he's south this way somewhere. Where, I don't know. I went below. Now I'm back on the middle floor. Is there another floor that I don't know about on this plane? Or maybe a compartment that can only be accessed from a certain place on a certain floor and not by traversing completely? Or are me and this guy just like chasing each other in circles? Oh, that sounds really close. Probably not below me. Go ahead and make sure this thing's loaded up. We only have one guy we're hunting for right now. We definitely don't want to die to him because we only had half a mag left. Alright, we went all the way to the back. We're actually going to climb the ladder this time so I don't break my legs again. I'll go looking for this guy from back to front. Is it possible that he's outside? Yes! It was possible that he was outside, because he was. Which means anyone else could be outside too, including the last guy. And there's one guy left. Okay, so now that we know they can be outside and all that hoopla I talked about the map being open and being more predictable, holds a lot more merit, because say we left one guy with a good rifle and a good scope back at that assembly point we had where we were looking out onto the plane. That guy could have been capping dudes who were running out of the plane, right? So I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that this last guy is also outside of the plane in this direction. Meaning we should get to some stairs. Hold up. He might have come back in. We should get back outside and get an angle on him. Yeah, he sounds like he's outdoors. Or, no, he doesn't sound like he's outside a plane to me. And I suppose that's part of the problem, is that, like, I don't know what the audio direction in this game is yet. Not necessarily a bad thing, I just feel confused about it at the moment. But, again, it's not alpha, it's not beta, it's just pre-release. So any number of improvements could be made. This dude's outside. I can feel it. Question is, how do I get back outside this way? Ah! I knew it! Pick up your own gun and use it on you. Alright, we did it. We won the plane thing. So, all in all, like, the PvE can be very fun, and I imagine that it's way more fun once you're playing with other people. That will conclude part 3. I think the PvE is going to be very fun. I just don't know if I trust all those numbers that are assigned to the AI as it is. But hey, you guys stay safe, stay indoors if you can. If you must go outdoors, you know, keep your eyes and your ears open. And if you feel like something is going wrong or a little bit hazy, don't stick around to watch it like it's a TV show. Just get out of that area, worry about what went down there later when you catch it on the news. I'd rather you catch it on the news on TV later that night or that morning than us watching you on the news, if you know what I'm saying. Alright? You guys stay safe. Take care. Laters. If I choke on my whiskey and coffee, tell Justin Red he can have my shoes.